take a walk, maybe to... On the night of February 13th, 1021, the 6th Fatimid Caliph and 16th Imam of the Ismaili Shia Muslims, Al-Hakim bi Amrullah, left his home in the capital city Cairo. He alone ventured to the city gates and then went outside, maybe to take a walk, maybe to meditate, we don't exactly know. What we do know is that Al-Hakim never returned home that night, but disappeared from history, never again to be found. The figure of Al-Hakim bi Amrullah, already a central figure to the Ismaili Shiites, would hold an even more prominent position in the religion of the Druze. The Jews are a fascinating religious minority in the Middle East that is very sort of isolated and secretive. They are situated primarily in the region known as the Levant in modern countries like Lebanon and Syria. And there are many questions surrounding the Jews, like are they Muslim, are they not Muslim? And people answer these questions very differently, both within and outside the group itself. What is clear is that they originate in Islam, and specifically in Ismailism. And what is Ismailism, you may ask? Well, I have a couple of videos on this, who are both worldly and spiritual leaders in a line of succession as the Ismailis. And a couple of centuries later, the Ismailis had managed to form the Fatimid Empire, which at the height of its power ruled much of North Africa from Egypt and also parts of the Arabian Peninsula. Now, what's very interesting about the Fatimids is that the caliphs of the Fatimid dynasty were also the imams of the Ismaili community, so they served a kind of double function in that regard. And this brings us back to the Caliph Al-Hakim bi Amrullah, who, as I said, was the 6th Caliph of the Fatimid dynasty and the 16th Imam of the Ismaili. On the Fatimid throne and the Ismaili Imamate, a guy called Ali al-Zahir, was very different from his father. In fact, he reversed many of the ideas and innovations that Hakim had put in place and completely rejected the group that saw Hakim as a manifestation of God. In other words, the group that we call the Jews today. Here begins a period of great persecution and oppression of this group by the Fatimid caliphs, which would lead to them being more and more distinguished from the larger Ismaili community as its own new movement. And this persecution forced many of the what we call Jews into other regions like the Levant, and would also very much affect the theology and worldview that the Jews would hold or develop. Indeed, many argue that this is one of the reasons that in the year 1043, that is 22 years after Hakim's death, missionary work officially ended for the Jewish faith, and after this no converts were ever allowed into the religion. This is of course similar to other religious minority groups that I have discussed in previous videos as well. It seems to be a very sort of returning common theme. The faith has been strictly forbidden ever since. Hedun, which means those who profess monotheism or those who profess oneness. Their view of God is one completely beyond attributes, even essential ones like wisdom and knowledge, as they are seen to be part of his essence, and this is similar to other theological schools within Islam like the Mu'tazila or the Ismailis for that matter over here as well. This means that they have a view of God and creation where the divine emanates, school Neoplatonism, and so we can see in the Jewish faith that this sort of carries region. For example, the famous Hanbali scholar Ibn Taymiyyah, often a hero to modern fundamentalist groups, issued a rather nasty fatwa in the 14th century, found that they may be cursed because of what they are. But it's very important in the case, and that many Muslim scholars historically and today have favored a more liberal approach and emphasized peaceful coexistence. There have been periods during the Ottoman Empire, for example, when the Jews were allowed autonomy and even protection by the Ottoman Sultan. In the last century, with the appearance of ideologies like national